And the name's not Pencil Neck, it's Woody! Wild Woody!
I love video games. Wild Woody is a video game that released on the Sega CD in 1995 and was created by Sega Multimedia Studio. And that studio was created by Sega of America in an attempt by management to refocus the company's internal development capabilities around the CD-ROM and the upcoming Sega CD. To put it very simply, it was basically a studio that was made to help them understand the CD marketplace that was replacing cartridges at the time. They overall helped Sega with a couple of their projects and also made two projects of their own, Jurassic Park and Wild Woody. After the studio completed their work on Jurassic Park, they got split up. One team went to work on stuff for the Sega Saturn, while the other team got to work on Wild Woody, which the team considered their swan song. The game got released and immediately got sent to the bargain bin. Well, that turned out well, but now goes for like $1 billion on the retro market. Yeah, you've heard it before. So obviously the game didn't do that well, and obviously it's really not that great. But is this the worst platformer ever made? Welcome. I'm Warren Clubs, and this series is the worst platformer ever made, where we go through various different platformers and see which one is the worst of all time. And today we're going to take a deeper look into Wild Woody, as requested by you, the viewers. To put it simply, this game is a 2D platformer. You just have to get to the end of the level while avoiding enemies and using power-ups you find along the way to get there. Now, if this was just a linear 2D platformer, I honestly think this would have been a fine game. But the problem with the game is, the level design is like this. The levels in this game are massive, minus maybe one or two, which I always found to be an issue in 2D platformers that tried to do this at the time. You only have so little screen space to actually see where you are, so everything just ends up looking the same. Though this is probably due to the limited space on the cartridge they have at the time, so I don't feel like large exploration-based 2D games really worked that well back then. Wait a minute, this was on CD! Yeah, I really do think this game would have most definitely been better if it was more of a linear, just move to the right kind of platformer. The power-up system this game has would have been great for that, and even though it's not that good in this game, it's still kind of a positive. The way it works is that you can collect papers with drawings on them. You can then transform or draw into that thing that you have on the paper and get a power-up from it. These can vary from summoning a hand to dispatch all the enemies, turning into a kite to glide down slowly, or turning into a ghost to fly around everywhere. Honestly, it's a pretty cool idea, but there's issues with them that make it not great. The first issue, I don't know how to draw. The second issue is that the game doesn't tell you what power-up you get. They're all just blank sheets of paper around the map, but once you pick it up, it does tell you, but it's a gamble on what you pick up. So if you're looking for a specific power-up, there's no way to find it unless you just randomly run into the blank sheets of paper. Another issue, I think, I don't personally like this, is that anytime you use a power-up, Woody gets smaller. If you do it 2 times, he becomes so small and you can't use power-ups anymore. I do love how stupid he looks here though. You can revert back into full size by finding a paper with a pencil beside it, but there are points in the game where I feel like you need a power-up to progress. It doesn't happen often, but if it does and you're the smallest you are, you need to go find a pencil and paper to go back into full size, which can be annoying. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, there are parts in the game where you need to be tiny to progress. Sometimes there are these small holes in the map you need to be small to fit into, so if you don't have any power-ups, you gotta go find some and waste more time. It's kind of annoying. Woody's going into small holes, he's erecting himself. There's even an Easter egg where if you go into specific parts of the map in a specific time at a specific place, you can use the mermaid power-up to see you're naked. I think they're called gooners nowadays. Now, this isn't a negative, it's just something to point out, because you will notice it at least a couple times when you play this game. It is noticeable. You'll also notice something else while playing though. It controls like ass! Moving on the ground is fine sometimes. Sometimes he just stops moving randomly. It's weird. It only happens on some levels as well. But other than that, it's generic movement. You move to the left and you move to the right. But when you stop moving, it feels like the character takes a step backwards compared to where his animation was at the end of it. It's very strange. Also, if you jump, sometimes he won't jump all the way up. Sometimes he'll just randomly stop going up and just go back to the ground. He won't hit max jump height. And yes, I know holding down the jump button makes him jump higher, but I swear it does not work most of the time. Wild Woody goes where he wants to. You don't get a choice. The collision boxes on the platforms you also jump on are also horrible. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of hard to explain, but it feels like the platforms are kind of like stairs. If you hit the bottom step, you go onto the platform for a second, but then Woody falls off. But if you hit any other step, he stays on the platform you jump on. It's kind of like his hitbox is an oval, which is really weird because I don't think it is. Believe it or not, other than sticking it up your ass, there's other things a pencil can do. Woody has the ability to erase things, though the erasing mechanic kind of sucks. Again, it's a cool idea, don't get me wrong, but there's just a couple of issues with it. To take out enemies, you need to jump on them and he automatically erases them. Sounds fine in principle, pretty simple. But it feels like sometimes it just doesn't work on the enemy and you end up just falling into the enemy and getting damaged. It's weird. You can also erase the walls and the floors and the lids of boxes as well, which would honestly be a cool idea again, but they messed it up. In a lot of the levels, the walls, the floors, there's no difference in what it looks like for what you can and can't erase. They don't need to make it obvious by putting like yellow paint on them, but there should be at least something there because there's so many things in the levels that look the exact same and you just don't know what to erase. Though luckily sometimes it is pretty obvious, like yeah, this obviously you can erase, but a lot of the times everything just looks the same. Normally I would put here what I think about the art style, but I don't know. I'm still not sure if I like this or hate this. I think it just looks okay. I will say though that the animations on some of the enemies does look really good, so at least that's a positive. There we go. But believe it or not, out of all the games I've played in this series, I legit think this might be the worst one for actually controlling the character himself. I don't think I've been more frustrated trying to control a character in a platformer ever. This was infuriating. Can I just shove the pencil up my ass instead? But that's pretty much how the game plays. Most of the levels are basically like mazes and you just have to get to the end of the maze. That's it. So now that we went through that, how about we go through the entire game? Once you start the game, you see a clip of Woody turning on the TV and then get sent to the main menu. What a character. You could change the difficulty and the controls in the options, which is neat, but once you get back to the main menu, we start the game.
Wake up, pal. You and me got work to do. Whoa, big fella. You got a name, Leadhead? Call me Woody. Wild Woody!
I wish this was a good game. Visually, obviously, this looks absolutely horrible, but I think it's that kind of horrible where it loops back from being bad to actually being kind of good because it's funny. There's a lot of charm put into the way he moves and his voice, like it's just so ridiculous. The story is basically 6 faces of a totem split apart and they all go into several drawings or paintings around the room. When the totem goes into them, it basically creates their own world in which Woody needs to go into to get the totem back. The one totem that remains on the table is named Loman, who brings a pencil to life, and we all know who that is. Woody needs to get back the totems, as upon the totems breaking, the world they resided in shattered, so it's up to Woody to go into each world to get the totems back, and then the world becomes restored again, because it tells you the entire story in the manual and tells you every boss you fight. Imagine if a Final Fantasy game, you open up the manual and what do you see? The entire game's plot right there. I chose FF9 because it's my favorite. Anyway, the first thing Woody does is jumps into the pirate painting, and then away we go. The game consists of 5 worlds, and each world has 2 levels. If you get all the puzzle pieces in the level, you get a bonus room that lets you stock up on lives. However, this is not worth it. The maps are just so big, and finding the puzzle pieces would just be a massive pain because you'll have to go constantly around the level to find them all. It's really just not worth it, and if you play well, you get enough lives that you'll be able to beat the game easily anyway. Anyway, level 1-1 is just a pirate ship. And of course, if you're on a pirate ship, there's going to be enemies like pirates throwing knives at you and them slowly walking around. The ones that throw knives at you are probably the most annoying because you can't jump over some of them or duck some of the knives that they throw at you. It's just unavoidable, which is strange. The level is also filled with random cannonballs that fall from the sky, though they're most of the time are going to be falling away from you, so it's not really that big of an issue. I don't think I got hit by one at all. An issue this level does have, though, is that later on in the level, you'll have to go from one pirate ship to the other, and to do that, you have 2 options. If you get the kite power-up, you can just fly over, which is perfectly fine. But more commonly, you'll have this boat power-up that you can use. Once you draw it, you get a boat that you can sail around on. But if you try and jump, Woody just sometimes doesn't jump. And you're forced to jump in this boat because there'll be this shark that'll be trying to eat you. But once you get to the other boat and you walk around a bit, you find the exit of the level, and that's pretty much it. Level 1-2 is a watery cave filled with lakes and spikes that they decided to add all over the place for some reason. But believe it or not, I think this is actually one of the good levels in this game. As I said before, it's really not that big and is more like a linear map, which is exactly what I said would make this game better. Surprise, surprise. Though I do feel like this level would be a completely different experience if you try and get all the puzzle pieces. Though I think if you're going that hard into Wild Woody, you kinda deserve it at that point. This level does add a clam enemy that chases you around, but it's not that big of a deal. You're going to be mostly seeing the pirates most of the time anyway. But once you beat this level, we get to fight our first boss. The first boss is pretty simple, and it's honestly kind of awesome for a first boss. All you need to do is jump on top of him and erase his skull enough times to beat him. It's pretty simple for a first boss. I don't actually hate this, though I'm not sure if this level was tested or not, or maybe I'm just not bad. You basically just have to jump to the top of him on the platforms. I think this is also where I should bring up an important fact about this game. The music is amazing! Just listen to this boss theme!
The cannonballs are dropping and the parasites are popping. You can jump over the fire and the ropes can take you higher. But the only way to win is to complete what you begin.
So bring it back, bring it back, bring it back, oh, bring no attack to head. Bring it back, oh, bring it back, oh, bring no attack to head.
How did this even happen? That sounded like Limp Bizkit, and this game came out 2 years before their first debut. What? Well, I can actually tell you how this happened. The music in this game was created by Ron Thal, who was most notably on the band Guns N' Roses. And according to some random YouTube comment I found, he didn't even get paid for this. The best source of information. And this isn't just the boss theme. All the music in this game is really good. But anyway, you erase the boss's skull a couple times, you get the totem, and that's the level.
Arr! Think you're tough enough to battle a god, ye swabs? They won't know what hit them.
We actually start level 2-1 in a coliseum, I believe, and it's just full of mushrooms everywhere. Even the ones that look like they're just part of the background damage you, though not by much. I think this is where the devs themselves started to say and realize, okay, maybe the levels are too big, and they started putting arrows in the background, which is cool at least. They tried to make them fit the level somehow by like putting them on the jar here, for example. Though they do give up immediately in the next world and it's just a generic white arrow. But besides the fact, it's still useful. This is one of those levels I mentioned before where it isn't really obvious which part you need to erase to progress. You kind of just need to run around for a while to figure out where to go. I don't think I mentioned the rope climbing in this game yet. It's awful. Sometimes Woody just falls down whenever he wants to. Sometimes Woody automatically grabs onto the rope. Sometimes he just doesn't, and it's really annoying. Speaking of annoying, this level, and pretty much every level after, has this mechanic where you can erase the top of a jar. Once you go into it, it just teleports you somewhere randomly on the map. This is very annoying because there's a bunch of teleporters in this game that just send you back to the start, and it doesn't tell you. Though there are some teleporters in this game that do bring you further into the level, which is neat, but I feel like there's more of the previous one, which is annoying. But once you get through this mess of a level, we're on to the next one, level 2-2, which takes place of you climbing up to Olympus, which is a cool idea. This level does give you a deep fear of heights, however, as if you fall down in this level, you don't just die immediately, you fall all the way down to the start of the level. And once you get to the bottom, you have to climb all the way back up again. Luckily, that didn't really happen to me. I want to say that's because I think I'm good at the game, but I feel like that's honestly an insult. The enemies themselves also theme really well to the level, like every level in this game. But there is an annoyance I have with the enemies on this level. They do way too much damage. This is only the second level in the game, but I feel like out of all the enemies in this game, the enemies in this level deal the most damage out of any enemy in the game. Why in this level? If you could tell from looking at the footage, there are a lot of clouds in this level. It's a cool idea for platforms, but if you don't move on them, you sink, so you constantly have to be moving or you'll fall through the clouds. Why did they do this? This level is already stressful enough having to worry about falling down and having to redo the entire level again. And need I remind you that Woody also just randomly likes to stop moving all of a sudden? Maybe he wants to fall through the clouds. Anyway, once you reach the top, that's the entire level. After that level, we fight the second boss, which is also a very, very easy boss. But after reviewing the footage, I noticed something here. The song that's played in this level is actually the one that's played in the alien level. Did they mess up? Anyway, like I said, this boss is very simple. Just avoid the lightning bolts, which always shoot in the same spots, so if you figure out where they shoot, you can just always avoid them. Jump up the clouds to the top and erase his head 3 times and you get the totem.
Look upon what used to be my mighty empire. It's completely ruined.
Hope you got insurance, Brimmy. Looks like a total loss.
World 3 is a factory, and the first level is a pain in the ass. This level is full of warp crates everywhere, and you need to find the right one in order to get to the end. But there's also a lot of split paths in this level, and the split paths are annoying because if you go down one of them, sometimes you just can't go back, and you need to find another warp crate to warp you somewhere in the map, which in most cases will just make you redo the entire level again. I ran around this level so many times trying to go into the right crate just to be somewhere else that doesn't really matter. Couple that with the fact that there are switches all over the map you need to push to disable traps so you can continue on. It's a mess of chores that the game expects from you. but I did it, because I'm mentally unwell. I said before that the game starts to give you arrows to show you where to go in the levels, which is pretty handy, but it's not really that helpful in this level. An arrow will say go that way, and that way leads to like a place with 3 different paths and you have to guess which way to go. It's not really that helpful. Anyway, once you get through that mess, you're on to level 2. And surprise, surprise, this level isn't bad. Do you know why? It's not that big. Who would have thought? This takes place in a chemical plant and it's mostly about precise jumps, as if you miss a jump you have to go around to redo it. You don't have to go to the start of the level, which is what this game has been doing up to this point, but you just have to redo that section, which is like standard in a normal platformer. Unfortunately, Woody is not normal. But that's pretty much the level. Boss 3 is where they decided to start making the bosses difficult, but not fun. In this boss, you need to flip both switches on the map to turn off the electricity on top of his brain in order to erase his brain. The problem is that the switches, it feels like they randomly just flip back on and the electricity above his brain turns back on, and it feels like it's random when this happens. You also have to avoid this reticle that slowly follows you, but that's not really a big of an issue. It's pretty easy to avoid. An issue I have with this boss is the rope climbing. It barely functions. I just can't grab the ropes half the time. Also, the giant hole under the boss is annoying. It instantly kills you if you miss the platform. This boss really feels like it was just made to drain players' lives, as it feels random when you can have a good run or not. But once you do get a good one, erase his brain enough times and you get the totem.
My, oh my. Time to earn my pay!
World 4 is a space world, and I think this is the worst world in the game. So the first level is very vertical. You're supposed to go to the right, but if you're like me and just straight up suck massive ass at video games, you will fall right back to the bottom and you need to climb up just to get back to the start of the level. Imagine having to climb up just at the start of the level because you missed a jump. Like, come on. After that though, it's pretty much smooth sailing. You move to the right, you go down a bit, you move to the right, you go up more, and then you move to the left and you climb up a bunch, and then you move to the right and climb up more. While you're doing this level is also full of green uranium, which I believe just sends Woody flying, but I have no clue how to control this or how it actually detects where he goes while he's flying. But once you climb enough, you get to the end of the level. Level 4-2, I believe, is the worst level in the entire game. It takes place on a space station, and you have to flick switches to continue to progress the map, all while figuring out where the switches are. And this isn't the only space station you have to do this in. You have to leave the space station through space to go into another space station to find more switches to be able to progress the level. And flying through space is horrible. It's just so difficult to control yourself in space. Once you start moving, it takes a solid couple seconds to actually stop moving, and there are mines everywhere, so you're guaranteed to be hit a bunch. I also think this is the biggest map in the game, as like I said, you need to go from space station to flip the switches to progress the level. And not only that, you also have to change your sizes multiple times to continue the level itself. There's just so many things you need to do, and the map is just so big, it's just one giant pain. You get lost very easily, even with the arrows on the wall, but if you're brave enough and you do it, you get to the 4th boss. Can you guess if it'll be good? It's this alien mother that you need to climb the ropes on to erase her head. You would think it's simple, but she constantly spawns these moving bat lip things that constantly chase you around, and if you don't erase them, most of the time you're screwed. They're almost always after you, though sometimes they do leave you alone though. Honestly, if there was just one bat instead of 2, this level might not be as bad, but the second one just makes it so much worse. And even if you finally get above her to erase the gem on her head, the boss's hitbox, like the last one, is barely functioning, and you'll just fall through her half the time. It's frustrating. But once you somehow do it, the boss is down.
Wild Woody!
World 5 is a graveyard, perfect for this Halloween season. It's full of stuff you would see at a graveyard, like a fat Elvis. Okay. Honestly, this level isn't really that bad. Again, to no one's surprise, it's pretty small and you can easily tell what to erase in order to progress. It's nice. The only thing I don't like about this level are these slime pillar things. If you jump on them at an angle, you go flying off them. Think of these like a standard ice platform in other platformers where you would just slide on them. It's kind of like that. But sometimes in this game when you're on them, you don't slide at all. It's really strange. Once that's done, you get to the final level. While editing this video, I've just realized something. World 5 is probably one of the easiest and also one of the best worlds in this game because the levels are simple and not really big. Even the final level we're getting into, level 5-2. Hell. And after playing this game, I'm probably heading straight there. Like I was saying before, this is probably the easiest level in the game. It's a really small level, and there are points where erasing stuff isn't obvious, but if you're at this level at this point in the game, you're probably just going to start erasing random walls anyway to see if it actually erases. And if you do that, you'll easily find which walls you can erase. Honestly, I was terrified going through this level. I thought it would be a huge and massive pain in the ass to get around, but it's really not. This level isn't even that hard. The first level is way harder. That shouldn't happen. Anyway, once you get through this level, we're on to the final boss. The final boss here is a toilet. What? The boss is most definitely, different. I feel like Wild Woody is supposed to be a personification of the wild side of the 90s, but having this as a final boss for that just isn't it. It's also not really that obvious what you need to do here. There's a toilet in the middle of the arena and you have to move this monkey that's chasing you over the red part of the toilet. Once you do that enough times, the toilet flushes the totem out and you get the final totem.
Thanks again, Woody. I'll see you next time the world needs saving. Yeah, only if we sell a zillion units.
You bring back the final totem to Loman and he gives Woody one single wish, and his wish is to turn a paintbrush into his girlfriend. After that, the game just ends. A lot of the games in this series, I always say give it a try if you're curious about seeing just how bad it is. But for this game, I don't think I can do that. This game is just very frustrating to play with its controls, and I just wanted to have a streamer moment and spike my controller across the room every second while playing this. It's pretty bad. But there is one good thing for you, dear viewer, if you want to try it. The positives that this game has make it so you don't even need to play the game itself. The soundtrack is awesome and you can find them on YouTube very easily. And the really bad CGI cutscenes that loop around to being super funny and awesome, again, you can just watch on YouTube. There's not really a reason at all to try this game and go through it. It's a bad platformer that controls horribly. It's really not worth your time. I would honestly just rather replay some of the games on this channel than play this again. This was not a fun time. But that is the end of the tale of Wild Woody. Wild Woody would not appear until 29 years later in an 18+ kart racing game called Shady Lude Kart, which has the original voice actor for Wild Woody appear and reprise his role. What? Anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing and leaving a comment below. If you want to see what I'm up to, you can also follow me at @OrinClubs on Twitter. Or if you want to watch me stream, which I do sometimes, you can watch me here or at twitch.tv/OrinClubs. Now if you excuse me, I'm going to continue playing Final Fantasy VIII, even though I hate the junction system.
So bring it